Okay, so I'm going to talk about real quickly, just to run down about this coronavirus thing. Number one, Puerto Rico does not have the test kits. That means we have to quarantine. That means that the governor, Wanda, has to use logistics, meaning that she has to have the National Guard drop off food supplies. Because you limit, it doesn't matter. You have to aim at the population that is vulnerable, the people with disability, people without hearing, without sight, people who basically are immobile. These are people who you need the National Guard to be sending food supplies towards. Making sure that they are given a protocol, be it whatever language they need, or what are the emergency contact information. You're supposed to have pamphlets and pictures that people can analyze and see all the things that they need to do in case somebody is infected with the coronavirus and how to prevent it. The more you limit the people for mobilization from place to place, the better it is. You don't have enough testing kits. There are not enough things for it. The other thing is, we know that the elderly population is the one that's targeted, but the youth population is also very affected. Puerto Rico is dependent on its youth, so we need to make sure that the healthy Puerto Ricans are quarantined. And if the healthy Puerto Ricans are quarantined, then let the healthy Puerto Ricans be amongst the healthy Puerto Ricans. Because obviously we need population growth and we need marriage and we need to make stable social societies to function. Now we need to make sure that we need to quarantine people specifically, and unfortunately that's just how it is. This is a pandemic. This is a plague, and this plague it's called a virus and it's called a pathogen, and it's a mutating strain that's never seen before. Basically, it's a strain that's from coronavirus A, B, C, and D. Basically 8, 9, 10, 11 to 19 to 21, 22, 23. Third of all, the surveillance of the pattern. We need to reduce in order for us to reduce the movement, we can make sure that we don't have hot spots and low spots in the island of Puerto Rico, meaning that if somebody's infected, that person doesn't move to so-and-so house and has a communication with them. There's still many people who are communicating with other people, yet we're in quarantine. They're not following the instructions. You have to make sure that they're quarantined because we don't have tests yet. That means that somebody's carrying out the virus all over the island. And that's your job, Wanda. And another thing is that HIV was never treated in such a way, so this is a brand new thing about the new question about ethics. Even though we know the changing of the strains, are we testing using the test for other strains? And if so, how are we going to prevent that different strain from actually hitting the population in another tsunami? So we need to be preparing ourselves for that also. And we never treated HIV this way, which is another ethical question. And in regards to ethics, biological sick crimes. How are we using surveillance to basically surveillance for the patterns of sickness, but yet not use these patterns of sickness to basically criminalize people, or make sure that people are not criminalizing themselves by doing intentional misbehavior and spitting at people's faces or getting them infected. That is a serious, serious crime. It's a biological crime, and it should be treated as a biological crime. The other thing is the ethical question of regarding testing, taking plasmas, taking blood of immune people. Where is the ethical question here and the legality? And behind the state government of Puerto Rico has to have its legislative punctuality, paper documented and filed in zip and sent to every senator in every municipality. The fourth thing is communications. Communication and networks. You know that Puerto Rico doesn't have free Wi-Fi. How are you working to get Puerto Rico free Wi-Fi? How are you working to make sure that every single Puerto Rico has communication? And 1, 2, 3, they can make a phone call and have certain food products from the supermarket delivered to them, and that they can pay off with a card. You give them the card, and they swipe it, and that's it. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay, now we're moving to another situation in regards to how Puerto Rico's history was based on scientific experiments. So how are we going to remove these past legacies of ours and move to a more ethical question of ours, which is how we are not going to be used as experiments, but that we're using it as a whole of humanity for all betterment of the population. Remember, Puerto Ricans were used as sterilization for pregnancy, with their tubes tied, and all types of other experimentations that even undocumented. How will we be sure that the past incidents will not occur among our populations? Uptick in cases, already discussed that. Technology, already discussed that. Critical infrastructure, already discussed that. Make sure that all the businesses are connected Skype or communication-wise, and make sure that the deliveries are made from these businesses to these people in 1, 2, 3 Ziploc. And that's it. Take care. God bless.